Sex is primarily meant as a means of procreation in this world. Without sex, there would be no perpetuation of the species. So from that point of view, naturally, sex is not bad. And the act of sex involves certain kinds of acute pleasure to the participants, because the natural consequence of the sexual act is that there are offspring. Bringing up children is not an easy task. It is a considerable austerity and difficulty. It calls for a lot of sacrifice. So in order to have people procreate so that the generations can go on, the act of sex by nature has been endowed with this kind of pleasure. So people engage in it, and thus the species move on. Had there been no pleasure in the act of sex, it is a moot question of what would happen to the perpetuation of the various kinds of species. So this urge has been inbuilt into the human body, into this material body and this material mind. Now, at the same time, from the Bhagavad Gita we learn that the purpose of our life is not simply to be here in this world and enjoy the pleasures of the body and of this world. We are spirit souls. As spirit souls, we are tiny parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit Soul, Krishna. And we have a relationship of love that exists between the soul and the super soul, Krishna. So when we try to revive that relationship, all sorts of material aspirations and pleasure-seeking efforts form an impediment. However, since it is not practically possible for the ordinary person to regulate these things or stop it all of a sudden, certain regulations have been made. A certain framework has been made, a framework of marriage, where man and woman can come together and procreate and have children. However, when we give too much importance to the physical act of sex and the pleasure it brings, we deprive ourselves of the greatest pleasure that can ever be attainable for anyone, and that is a spiritual pleasure. Because people in this world are unaware of anything higher than sexual pleasure, this becomes apparently the all in all. And because the urge is very strong, so people think it is natural. Yes, it is natural for the body, but it is not natural for the soul. So by regulated austerities, by following certain spiritual regulations and practices, we're able to transcend all sorts of materialistic identifications with the body and materialistic pursuits in life. And we get situated on the spiritual platform. So when we give an inordinate, disproportionate emphasis to sex, that is what carries the whole world away, sweeps the world away in a tsunami of sensory hedonism. And then we are lost to our spiritual purpose. Because when somebody is too obsessed with material pleasures, and especially the pleasure of sex, then it is very hard to be able to focus one's consciousness on anything higher, on anything spiritual. So, as aspiring spiritualists, people should learn to regulate their sexual activity in such a way that they can transcend it eventually and come to the platform of spiritual bliss.